Greetings, geeks and nerds, amazing universe and what you nerdy and YouTube subscriber poll time continues only with this episode and or review and then the next one. But this is one that I wasn't surprised that a lot of people actually wanted me to actually sit down and review, as I absolutely love this movie. But you're gonna also hear me say some things I didn't like about this movie, just in general. But it doesn't surprise me that a lot of people actually wanted me to talk about and review this movie. And of course, it's probably one of the most imaginative and creative films that I have seen this year. And that honor goes to basically, I wouldn't say an underrated gem. I kind of think that it is because not too many people are talking about this movie, which which is kind of a thing because when you have like horror and superhero movies mostly being the mainstream thing, films like this one kind of go ignored. But I'm going to talk about the underrated yet amazing and imaginative. I'm of course talking about the movie If. This will be my review retrospective that you want to that whatever you want to call it upon the movie If. So if you have not seen this movie yet and you want to watch this review, just be forewarned that there will be some spoilers. So please, please, please watch this movie first before you watch this review, otherwise there will be some spoilers. But with all that said and done, please enjoy the following review of If. If comes to us from the creative mindset of John Krasinski, and if that name sounds familiar to people, it should. He was Mr. Fantastic in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and he was brilliant in A Quiet Place where he played the father. Now, that reminds me, I still have to get to the Quiet Place Part 2 at some point. But If is a really great movie. I remember when Ryan Reynolds was teasing this, and at first it looked like a horror film. I think that was the original regard to this, or Ryan Reynolds was just trolling us. And then when the trailer came out, it was all about imaginary friends. Now, here's the thing, and I will talk more about this towards the end. We all had an imaginary friend at one point in our life. Every kid has had one. It's not a question of whether or not you have friends or not. It's just that you create this own person that kind of you can have fun with, especially at points when you're feeling kind of down or alone. And we've all had one. I've had one. You guys had one. Everyone has had one at some point in their life. And I think that John Krasinski did a great job of capturing like how great it should be for a person to have still an imagination no matter how old that you become. And it's a wonderful and great thing that still keep. Some people might say it's childish, but I think it's still an amazing thing that we can have because think about it. Okay, for people that work with kids, you're playing along with the kids, especially if you're a parent, aunt, cousin. You're playing along with the kid, so that you're invited into this imaginary world right alongside them. And If is basically great at capturing that. Though unfortunately, very much like the Disney movie Up, this will get you into tears within the first 5 to 10 minutes of the opening runtime, and that is not a joke. But the opening, I have to say, in of itself is very beautiful. So, enough of me rambling. Let's go into the imaginary world of imaginary friends and check out If by John Krasinski and see if this movie needs more recognition. Spoilers, this movie needs to be recognized more. We are introduced to a little girl named Bee in the movie, and she does everything with her mother and father, as they are pretty much her entire world. They give into her, imaginative life. But tragically and unfortunately, her mother falls ill to cancer and unfortunately passes away. And especially for Bee at a young age, that's traumatizing. So Bee ends up moving in or basically staying with her grandmother for a short time while her father is in the hospital. Yeah, her mother died of cancer and her father is in the hospital. Oh, don't worry, it's nothing serious with her father. Her father just ends up basically needing a heart transplant, but yet she's worried about her father at the same time because she doesn't want to lose her father like she did her mother. I love that the movie basically introduces us to this little girl and show us just how much trauma that she has endured, and she's only 12. That is a lot for a little girl to accept. death is one thing to accept, and that is traumatic as hell. But also having your father going into the hospital under surgery, under a transplant, where it's 50-50 if you survive or not, and that is all the more traumatic, and which John Krasinski gives you a reason why B doesn't care about her imagination anymore. And that is only because she has endured so much trauma that pretty much she doesn't care about her imagination anymore. And the reason behind that is because she just lost this imagination. She lost somebody that was very special and important to her, her mom. And yet, at the same time, she's on the verge of losing her father, and she doesn't want to lose that. But everything eventually changes for her for the better, mind you, when she ends up meeting a fascinating individual known only as Calvin. Ryan Reynolds plays Calvin, and at first it's believed that Calvin is basically the babysitter of all the imaginary friends as he takes care of them and that he watches over them for the time being. But we actually find out more about Calvin later on in the movie, but I won't spoil it here. But let's just say that Calvin is a lot more important than he actually intended to be in the movie. And after seeing her world of imagination, Bee decides that she's going to end up helping out Calvin by finding homes for the imaginary friends who no longer have one. And I love that basically a lesson in this movie is never ever forget your imagination. As B at first was trying to be like, oh, let's help these imaginary friends by basically, having, kids try to meet a new imaginary friend. But the problem is that these kids that she tried to interview don't have any emotional impact upon the imaginary friend. Because you know how some people always say that them themselves can see their imaginary friend and no one else can? That's kind of technically true here, as she tried to interview different kids in this movie, but they can't see the imaginary friend because they aren't theirs. They've already been hand-picked by the kids themselves. And so the film becomes even much more special when she ends up, basically creatively, finding the kids grown up and bringing them back to their imaginary friends. And if that already didn't sell you on how amazing that this film is, then you are yourself lost. As I gotta say, for the team and John Krasinski themselves, now while some of the imaginary friends are kind of like, kind of, if like some of them are very creative, others are kind of like, seriously though? I mean, my favorite has to be absolutely Blue Butterfly, and also an alligator named Allie. They're the most creative ones, but for the other ones, it's like, really? This is what you're doing here? Because some of the imaginary friends look amazing, and others of them are like, and the other jets are kind of like everyday objects. There is a joke with a cup of water. But I do, and that is, yes, a running gag in this film. But I absolutely do love how John Krasinski was able to not just give the new imaginary friends something different, but each and every one of them had a different task. Like, one is used for protection, one is used as a nightlight, one is used, one is used for basically safety, not really protection. Several of them have different goals, and that makes them all the more special with each and every one that you create, that you see. But I gotta give the team so much credit for how creative that each and every different imaginary friend looked. As I kid you not, these are some of the most impressive looking and imaginary looking imaginary friends out there. Each and every one feels special in their own way, and that's all for the better, as each and every different one has a different design and a different unique look into all of them. While some are kind of like generic looking, the rest of them are very, very innovative and very creative, and I do love each and every one of them. as it is magical when the imaginary friends reunite with their old owners. It is so impressive and also amazing. And I absolutely adore and love the character of Bee as she has gone through so much and yet she comes out stronger, all the more better for it on top. And I absolutely adore this film's message. No matter how old you are, never, ever, and I mean never forget your imagination. It is more precious and more special than you think, so never lose sight of that. It is something special that you should forever cherish for the rest of your life. Now, I do have to kind of nitpick a few things about this film. Kind of in general, there's a few things that we have to kind of nitpick here, unfortunately. The one thing that I really did not like with this film is what they did with Calvin. Now, I'm not going to spoil it because I want the people to share my disappointment with this, but I thought that Calvin was going to be pretty much like this older gentleman that can see imaginary friends, like kind of gifted in that way. And I thought that they were going to do something special with giving him a reason why he can still see imaginary friends. That is not the case of what happened here. That reveal, oh my god, John, it's kind of special, Mr. Krasinski. Um, but also it's bullshit as hell. Now, I'm not going to spoil it, but when that reveal came up, I have never been so angry and disappointed in all my life. Never. As I was hoping that you wouldn't go that route, and when you did, I'm like, okay, John. Okay. I admit, it's special. It's kind of adorable. You have no idea how badly I wanted to basically strangle you, but I'm going to accept it. Despite the violent tendencies, I'm going to accept it. Another thing is, I wish that we spent more time with Bee and Calvin because the film kind of feels a little rushed towards the middle when she's trying to do the interviews with the imaginary friends. And I can kind of get that maybe because it was time consuming that you couldn't exactly do that. But I kind of wished that we spent more time with Bee and Calvin because the actors' relationship, like for Ryan Reynolds and Kaylee Fleming, they have such great chemistry together, and I really was hoping that there was more of them throughout the film. But what little that we do get, it is amazing. And unfortunately, before he passed away, this was the last movie premierance, not premierance, um, I guess movie role for actor Lou Gossett Jr. as he passed away a short time after that this film was already made, unfortunately, due to old age. But it was wonderful to see him, hear him, not see him, hear him in this movie, and he was just phenomenal in of itself. He is one of my favorite performers, anyways. And I have to say, I wish that some of the characters we could have gotten more to know about, like the imaginary friends, and especially Bee's grandmother. It's kind of like I wish that we spent more time with her because it seems like that she loved to dance and everything, and I wish that we'd gotten to know more about that, like maybe like a nice little like backstory for her, even done in black and white. That would have been awesome. But regardless, I do have to say that I still can not recommend If enough. And yes, if you're wondering, If imaginary friend. They don't say imaginary friend, they like using the term if, I don't know why. But it really is a creative film within of itself, and John Krasinski did an amazing job with it. If he ever, pun intended, get to make an If 2, I really would like him to kind of try and tweak a few things here and there, like maybe introduce a character much like Calvin, even if it's still played by Ryan Reynolds or not, to kind of be this older adult that can see imaginary friends, but for a very special reason why he can still see them. That would be wonderful in of itself. And I kind of wish that we kind of gotten to know B a little bit more. Like, okay, she lost her mom, her dad's having a heart transplant. Why is her dad having a heart transplant? And everything like that. Like, what's wrong with his heart to begin with? They never really explain. They say that his heart is broken, and I'm not necessarily sure what that means. If somebody wants to make a theory, they can in the comments down below. I absolutely got nothing. I know nothing about the human heart, so I got nothing. I get that mate because he looks like it throughout the film that he's depressed and that he's homesick. That I got, but the heart transplant is the thing that kind of got me a little confused about what they were doing. So, despite hating some things about If still an amazing movie? It is one of the most unexpected surprises. Like, this is underrated. Like, I haven't heard a lot of people talk about this film, and that is a shame because this movie is really damn good. Please, please, please see this movie and please give it more love as it definitely needs it. It is a wonderful and beautiful film, and I can guarantee you'll love it too. So if you do have the time, please do check out the movie If. It is nothing short of amazing. It's beautiful, wonderful, creative, and all around just imaginative. So when it comes to my Funko Pop rating for If, I was kind of, pun intended again, iffy about it because at the same time I did have some problems with it, but it was still very much enjoyable. It was very imaginative, and all the more around, I felt something kind of nostalgic about the film, and I don't know why. And I mean that in a good way. Like, there was something about it that maybe I've seen before, but for the life of me, it just feels nostalgic in a good way. Like, maybe this was a missing piece of my childhood, and maybe it brought back some good nostalgic memories of, pretty much like the fun I used to have with my own imaginary friend back in the day. And that is why my Funko Pop rating of If is going to be a Mickey Mouse. While it might kind of look a little bit like you've seen it before, there is something still new hidden inside of its shape and forms that it comes with. Like, everybody can see this film differently, but still come out smiling on top of it, much like the classic Disney Mouse himself. So my Funko Pop rating of If is going to be a Mickey Mouse. Guys, as always, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, hit that bell icon to be notified every single time I make an upload. And if you like the channel and you want to help support it, support it and help it grow, the best way to do so is by sharing this video around the web, like on Twitter or Facebook, Snapchat, whatever that you guys use. And also be sure to tell me what you guys thought about if you have seen it. And I hope that if you haven't, I really hope that I have intrigued you to check this movie out because it is really dang good. And it just is amazing with all of itself. And how John Krasinski can be the writer, director, and also actor slash voice actor in this, I will never know, as he must have been running around with his head chopped off. But this is still one very amazing and imaginative film. So, thank you guys so much for watching, and let me know in the comments down below if you agree with me, if you have seen If. And again, if you haven't, you really need to. It's a very wonderful film that needs more love and dedication and attention. So, thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great universe. Stop letting Nudie keep getting on. We have the last YouTube subscriber poll vote coming up. And just like Batgirl, this one had nobody voting for it. And my Batgirl video at the time of this recording is kind of pretty popular. Yeah. And especially with the movie that's coming out either this year or next year, still very surprising nobody voted for it. Coming up this Friday. So, thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great universe. Have what new to keep you getting on. And until next time, guys, as always, you can follow me at Twitter with the link in the description down below. And until next time, and as always, take care.